Bite. Ticks can spread Lyme disease and other illnesses, leading to chronic health issues.
My brother was always having asthma flare-ups. A roach problem at home was causing it.
Allergens left behind by roaches and rodents are a major driver of asthma attacks.
When I had a fever and body aches, I never thought it was West Nile virus.
Mosquitoes breed in standing water and can spread serious diseases. Get the facts at pestworld.org. A public service message brought to you by the National Pest Management Association.
We don't want you on our team.
You're not the right fit for this job.
You're too slow and fast.
Don't you care how you look?
Weight bias hurts. Go to stopweightbias.com. A public service message from Obesity Action Coalition.
This program is furnished by amp2tv.square.
The opinions expressed on the following sponsored program are strictly those of the host, guests, and callers, and not necessarily those of this station, its staff, management, or sponsors.
Welcome to the Better Hair, Better You show with Dr. Sierra, where the Robotic Hair Institute in Fort Lauderdale, Florida is a premier robotic hair restoration clinic. Dr. Sierra treats men and women of all ages who long to return to the days when they had copious amounts of hair. From implants to toupees to various chemical applications, men and women are eager to embrace a variety of treatments that promise to restore hair to its youthful volume and abundance. This show will discuss the latest procedures and technology for hair restoration. We specialize in providing the latest no-scar, robotic view hair restoration surgery. And thanks to advances in medical science and technology, we also offer non-surgical procedures and medical protocols combined with proprietary topical compounds to help augment and solidify results. Get ready to call in at 888-565-1470 and join the conversation of this amazing procedure. Let's start improving our lives.
Happy Monday, everyone, and welcome to Better Hair, Better You with Dr. Rafael Sierra. I am Dawn Graubert, host for this evening. I am filling in for your usual host, Alana Shearer. I'm very excited to be here on WWN. And tonight, filling in with Dr. Sierra. A lot going on. We're going into Thanksgiving week, so happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Happy holiday season, and I can't think of any better gift to give someone of the gift of self-confidence, the gift of new hair restoration for either yourself or your significant other. So this is going to be an exciting show. You can give us a call live at 888-565-1470 or write in any questions that you have live on Facebook or give us a call right here at the radio station. You can find us streaming on AMP2 TV Productions on Facebook and right here at 95.3 FM, 96.9 FM, and 1470 AM. A lot going on. I have not had the pleasure of filling in for Alana before, so I'm excited. I've gotten to listen to some shows. We've got Dr. Rafael Sierra here. You're located in Fort Lauderdale.
That's correct. Almost the corner of Commercial and Federal. 2151 East Commercial Boulevard, Suite 204, East Fort Lauderdale.
And I'm really excited to talk about the technique you use. It's called FUE,
That's
follicular unit extraction.
That's right.
Sounds very scientific.
It kind of is. It just means that we, with this technique, we remove every hair follicle at a time, as opposed to a previous technique where they remove a strip of skin. And the advantage of this technique is that we have no scar left, and we achieve a very natural result both in the donor and the recipient area.
One hair follicle at a time.
That's right.
So I think about tweezing my eyebrows and the amount of time that takes for one hair follicle at a time, right? Or waxing a small area.
Mm-hmm.
What is the time involved, one follicle at a time? Or does the robot go in and take multiple at once?
So it is a very, it's a very, labor-intensive procedure. And just the harvesting part, which is where the robot is very helpful, that part takes between 2 and 3 hours, sometimes even 4 hours, depending on how many follicles we're trying to obtain. But a large transplant, we're talking about 2,700 hair follicles. That part only takes about 3 hours.
And you harvest from the patient, or do you use donor transplant?
We harvest from the same patient, from the back of the head. That's usually where all the follicles that we use are more, they're stronger. Let's put it that way, and they can resist the hormone that usually causes hair loss, which is a derivative of testosterone. And so the donor area, that's how we call it, goes from kind of the middle of the ear back and kind of in the middle of the back of the head.
That's interesting. So when men lose their hair, and most of them keep the hair, the strip between the ears and the back, that's because it's less susceptible to the testosterone loss?
That's correct.
That's fascinating.
It's less susceptible to a product of testosterone, a derivative of testosterone.
Wow. So you can take whatever that hair is, that gives you enough to do a full head?
It can, depending on what degree of hair loss we're talking about. But it can really restore a very natural look.
And you will also work with women. I'm thinking as our hormones change and our hair thins, you can also help with that. Like
Yes.
right in the front area, you see a lot of women. We have receding hairlines and things change.
Yes, I've had patients that come in with either, like you said, receding hairline, a lot of times from certain hairstyles, like it's called traction alopecia. Basically, over the years, when people get like really tight ponytails in dancers or very tight braided hair, that eventually weakens out the follicle and end up losing the hair.
Which is really interesting because you see a lot, people pull their hair back, that's when you can see the hairline recede. And for women as well as men, a lot of it goes into your emotional state of, this is my looks, it's the first impression. When you walk in, you can't do the comb over sometimes. And all of that, so that makes a big difference. Now, when you work with the hair, you had said last week that you have to get it down to a fine, like 1 inch, maybe smaller?
No, when we are talking about the donor side, we have to cut the hair to a 1.5 millimeter.
Millimeter.
So it's basically almost shaving the head, but that's only in the donor area. We can do, usually for men that they don't really care too much, we do the same length in the whole head, so basically shave the whole head. But sometimes I've had patients that don't want to have the whole head shaved, and we can just get away with just shaving the donor area and leaving the hair long in the recipient area. So for women, especially if they have long hair, we leave all that part long, and then we just shave this part down here, and you barely can notice any difference.
Now, what about when hormones change, alopecia, right? There are things. How do you prevent the new hair transplant from being affected by hormone loss or alopecia or things like that?
So especially in men, like I said, those follicles are not susceptible to the hormones. So the hair that we transplant, that's going to grow for the rest of your life. And that's not going to be affected by those hormones because that's what genetically is coded for.
Within the hair. How did you end up doing this type of medicine? You are an MD, medical doctor, fully trained in everything, surgical residency and trained. What made you get into the hair restoration?
So it was a combination of factors. My initial practice or my previous practice was focused in general surgery and oncology surgery. So I had a lot of patients with cancer. I started noticing how much people were affected emotionally by hair loss. After doing a surgery, they would go into chemotherapy, a lot of them, and then a lot of the first questions that I had were that I got were, am I going to lose my hair? And that was, I mean, it was shocking and not to me because you're talking about a diagnosis of cancer, but people were also very concerned about that. And that kind of started me thinking about it, and I started reading about it. And then with all my experience with robotic surgery, I came across the robot that I have now in my practice, and it just kind of made sense to me to start also helping people to feel better, to improve their self-esteem in a different way.
Well, I love the name of the show, Better Hair, Better You, because what it does, it totally helps improve self-esteem. There's always that first impression. There's always, you're looking in the mirror and you say, I like this, but I wish I had more hair, or I'm losing my hair. Or you look down at the pillow or in the shower and you feel the clumps of hair coming out.
Yes.
It helps self-esteem a lot. It helps you feel more empowered, help more like yourself.
Yes, and a lot of people might think a little bit of it's superficial, but it goes really a lot more deep into somebody else's life. I mean, I've had patients that tell me that they just feel so much better. They regain confidence. They feel that they can achieve more. Whether we like it or not, we live in a society, and the way we look, it's important for us, for everybody, to feel better, to achieve better things, to move on certain things in our lives. So,
and this can be totally life-changing for people, especially there are men that are losing their hair in their late 20s, early 30s, and by the time they get around to maybe doing this, they're older and go, okay, I need to get back to how I felt before. Do you go through a whole psychological intake as far as where a patient is emotionally before the procedure?
well, I mean, I see my patients in my office in a consult. The consult is free. The initial consult is free. I try to get a good idea of what their goals are and what is really happening, and I just try to design a plan that it's gonna bring their goals to them as soon as better as possible. So,
well, while we're talking about fees, let's briefly talk about it's a global fee. So there's one price that includes the consult, it includes your consultation, your follow-up, your incredible team, your staff, the procedure. Do you have a payment plan option?
we do. We have we work with two banks that give loans to people for this type of procedure. So they have different plans with no interest, and because it is, I mean, it's not a cheap procedure. Remind you, it's for life. So it's more. I see it more like an investment in yourself. That's going to last for the rest of your life. So the price that you pay for the transplant includes the follow-up, the procedure, obviously, and we also offer PRP after the transplant. That's platelet-rich plasma treatments, and we give a 50% discount for life after the transplant.
So it lasts a lifetime. PRP afterwards, does it help rejuvenate the scalp, the cells?
It helps to maintain the hair follicles healthy. It also has shown to improve the hair or decrease hair loss. So we try to, once somebody has a hair transplant, we have to do something to decrease or stop hair loss. So one of the things that we offer is PRP, which is, like I said, platelet-rich plasma treatments that it's injected into the scalp. And it's something that has been around for some time. It's been used for sports injuries, also for other cosmetic uses. But for hair restoration specifically, it has shown to improve the health of those hair follicles that are there. So we try to do that. So, I mean, for me, it's better if people lose more hair and they can do more transplants. But my goal is for them to feel better and just keep that as long as possible.
Sure, to feel better about themselves. Now, does the price of the transplant go based on the area that you need to work with?
It goes depending on the amount of hair follicles that we're doing.
So typically on a male, right? If all that's left is between the back of their head and the ears, that's considered a full head.
Right.
How many follicles is that?
So with this technique, I don't recommend doing more than 2,500 to 2,700 follicles at a time. There's people that need more than that, and in that case, what we do is we split it in two procedures. But most people, we can achieve a very good results with one transplant, and we're talking about, like I said, 2,500 to 2,700.
And one transplant, you do that in a couple of hours.
No, the transplant. So it's divided. I guess I see it in three phases. The first phase is the harvesting part, which like I said, takes about 3-4 hours. Then I do the implantation or sites. That's done by hand. I do that myself, and then we place those hair follicles that we remove from the back of the head in those sites, and that's the third and last. So the whole process usually takes somewhere between 5 and up to even 8-9 hours.
In one day?
In one day, yeah.
And what is the recovery? It's
So
quick.
the recovery is very quick. I mean, patients go home and then within a day or two, they have no pain. The scalp is very good at healing, has a very good blood flow. So there is really no downtime. The only, I guess, discomfort is that people need to sleep for the next 3-4 days, almost sitting up because you don't want to. Yeah, so it's not that terrible. And
it's okay.
People can go back to work in a couple of days. So it's not something that it's incapacitating. Let's put it that way.
It's a lifetime of change for a couple days of uncomfortableness.
Yeah,
but it's worth it,
up.
right? Because
Yeah.
then you look in the mirror and you've achieved the results that you want to achieve.
Yeah.
You're not waiting for something to grow back. You're not constantly putting topical lotions on and hoping that it's going to come
Maybe
back
it's
if
gonna
you stop.
happen.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe it's going to happen. It's almost like an instantaneous fix. You're just a
Yeah.
little uncomfortable for a couple days.
Right. And I mean, it does take some time for you to see the final result because those follicles will go in a dormant state. So for the final result to be obvious, it takes about a year. It's a process for the new hair to show up. So it's also a good thing because it's not like one day you don't have hair and then the next morning or the next 2 days you show up to work with a full set of hair and people are like, what just happened? You have to give some time for the hair to grow, and it's such a soft improvement. And I've had patients that say, well, people tell me, did you lose weight? What happened? You look so good. And really the reason is because it's so subtle, the change that, and it looks natural. And that's the important thing, that it's not something that all of a sudden you put a wig on.
What about the texture of the hair? Because I've heard some people who go through chemo, when their hair grows back, they say it's thicker, it's fuller, it's more gray, it's curlier. You hear all different stories. How about the texture? Is it what you remember it being when you were younger?
It's the hair. It's
From
the
the
same
back.
hair. It's the same texture as your hair. It's the same hair.
And it's your hair, and it
It's
all
your
grows
hair,
back.
and then when it's there, you do whatever you want with it. You take care of it, and it's gonna be there for the rest of your life.
And as far as preparing for the surgery for the patient, is there anything they need to do ahead of time?
Usually the main thing is to avoid any kind of bleeding. So if people are taking aspirin or any kind of blood thinner, I ask them not to drink alcohol for a few days before the surgery. And that's about it. It's a what we call minimal invasive surgery. There's really not a lot of risks to it. We can basically they clean their hair in the morning and then come in. We take care of everything.
So they can stay on their blood thinners?
They cannot.
So
No,
it's not they have to go off it for a certain amount of time.
Correct.
With medical
Depending
clearance.
on what they're taking. For aspirin, just a few days. Other blood thinners like Plavix or something more.
Coumadin,
they have to stop it. And obviously, that's when I have a patient that has some other health problems, I make sure that I talk to their primary doctor or their cardiologist to make sure that it's all done safely.
And another question they wrote in was, what is the success rate of the procedure?
That's a very good question. And average is about 90% of those follicles that we take and implant, they will survive. So about 90% success rate, I guess.
Which is significant. I mean, there's so many questions here, Dr. Rafael. Give us a call right here at the radio station, 888-565-1470. Let us know any questions. It's the holiday time. Everyone's starting to get back into new hair, new you, fitness, New Year's resolutions. Can't think of anything. I mean, this is, you talk about fitness, right? Everyone's New Year's resolutions.
This is a good way to start your year.
Right. I'm going to go on a diet. I'm going to lose weight, which is great. You know what? Now let's do it all. The complete package.
Yeah.
New you, 2022. Let's see. Does the type of hair matter for success versus, I guess, hair color or different ethnicities?
Yeah. So it matters on how many grafts we need to cover a certain area. If you have very thin hair, we're going to need more grafts to cover the same amount of area that if you had thicker hair. Now with curly hair, let's say African American patients, we have to be very, very careful when we extract that follicle because their hair is curly from the moment that it starts coming out of the follicle. So straight hair just comes out and the follicle is there, so it's easier to just get that follicle without injuring it. With curly hair, sometimes it's starting coming out like a spiral almost, so we have to be very careful.
Of the different types of hair, that's a great question. Jose from West Palm Beach writes in, what complications, if any, as far as infection rate?
It's a very low infections. Like I said, the scalp has very good blood supply, so it makes it very, very hard to have any kind of infections. It can happen, but a lot of times it's when somebody does a transplant or a harvesting that it's what we call over-harvest, when they take too many and there is wounds that are a little bigger than what they should be. Again, it's a big also difference between this technique and what is called FUT, or follicular unit transplant, which is a strip method that I was talking about at the beginning, where you have a big incision in the back of the head. So that sometimes it can be a little more troublesome to heal. It's more prone to infections.
They put topical ointments on it or anything?
After the surgery, we send patients with basically Neosporin, is bacitracin ointment. We ask them to place that, to put that on the area for the first 3-4 days, and after that is just it gets a little itchy, so we give patients a special spray to keep the scalp moisturized, and that's it.
Oh my goodness, there are so many questions, but I want to make sure people understand why they should come to you. Why call Dr. Sierra? Your training, your background, your medical degree. It's really important.
It is important.
You know, people go to medical spas and they go to the mall and they're going to get PRP versus going to a plastic surgeon. So let's briefly, I know we don't have a whole lot of time, talk about your training, how many years you've been doing this.
So that's right, and that's important because a lot of times people go and what they get is somebody that is just, it's a tech basically doing the whole thing. With me, I'm going to be there the entire procedure. I'm going to be with the patient from the start to the end. Like you said, I'm a trained surgeon. I've been doing robotic surgery for more than 15 years, including residency. And I think that my team is great. So, like I said, I mean, when our patients come for surgery, it's one patient, there's nobody else, and we are all dedicated to that patient. And my patients can reach me. They get my phone. They can reach me on the weekend. I call them the next day. I see them a week after the surgery. And I just want to make sure that they have the best experience and they feel safe and that they're doing the right thing.
And I guess one last question before we wrap up. If people are out of Florida, another state, how can they do a consultation with you?
So I can do a virtual consultation, and I also offer, if they're traveling to have the procedure, I offer a $500 voucher for travel expenses.
Wow. That's incredible. They can do it all virtually, and
we can do the consult virtually, and if they decide they want to come do the surgery, I will give them a $500 voucher for hotel or car rental or any of the travel expenses that they can use to come over.
And when you numb the area, because I'm sure you must numb it, is it done under general, just a topical numbing?
It's just local anesthetic.
So they're awake for the procedure?
Awake. I give them a little something, a little Valium, so they're relaxed. And most people sleep for the entire first part of the procedure. And then I have a TV. They can watch a movie or read a book while they're getting everything else done.
Can you imagine just like, oh, wait, and then you wake up, you're you. Better hair, better you. Dr. Rafael Sierra, it has been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
The best number, give him a call, 954-776-0830. located at 2151 East Commercial Boulevard. Now is the time. We're rolling into Thanksgiving, Christmas, Hanukkah, holidays, New Year's. New year, new you. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Dr. Raphael, thank you so much.
Thank you. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Happy Thanksgiving. Have a great week, everyone. We'll see you next week.
You have been listening to the Better Hair, Better You show with Dr. Sierra. Dr. Sierra has shared valuable inspiration and information to help restore hair growth and confidence. If you want more information, call Dr. Sierra at 954-776-0830 or visit his website at sierrarobotic.com. And tune in again next week for another valuable life improvement moment.